a very important aspect about pictograph or any graph, to be honest, is scale. Scale is that you saw over here, you got to see that, right? This is scale. Basically, it talks about what is this particular symbol, how much value it holds. That's the whole point. So let me run the program again. So here too, so we can see that we are getting some variations. So again, I can represent this scale as say 4 votes, 10 votes, 20 votes. So how do you decide on that? That's what we are trying to understand. The scale, one emoji is equal to 2 votes. How did I decide on that? Why should it be 2 votes? Why not 10 votes? Do you think 10 votes will make sense over here? Right? Example, here it represents 8 people, 8 votes. Because one emoji is taking up 2 votes, right? Each emoji represents 2 votes. So obviously 4 of them will represent 8 votes. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. So do you think it's a good idea to talk about 200 votes? One emoji is for 200 votes when you just spoke to 8 people. So does it make sense to have emoji with 1 votes? One emoji is equal to just 1 vote. That is 1 person. In this case, it might make sense. What if there are hundreds of people? So as you can see, I'm, flipping around. I'm talking about all possibilities, big fat number to small numbers. So basically, the steps that is in general involved, again, these are not standardized steps. It's a way of thinking. That's it. There, of course, if you talk to one expert, they will give you a list, But yeah, let's start off with a simple set of steps. Look at your smallest and the largest clues. Basically, largest data. What is your smallest number? What is your largest number? Have a look at that. Think in easy steps, that is multiples. For example, if you have data of 100, 10, 25, 45, so what would be easier to deal with? What kind of number should we use? Multiples of 5. Right? If I take up a scale which is multiple of 5, then it's easier to represent. So basically, you have to take the LCM or the HCF of the given set of numbers. Of course, you might get data like 12, 106. So that too you have to deal with. Okay, something called as leftovers. So you can use parts of symbols. Of course, a very important consideration, things has to fit in your screen. You can't just have any number out there. I can't have, I technically I can have, one emoji to represent say 2 votes. And our maximum and the largest value that we have is say 12,000. So we basically are representing with 60 or not 60, 6,000 emojis. Is it practical to represent in this small screen? Do you think it's practical for me to have it over here? It'll just fill up the entire space. It's not practical. So you need to be smart about this. See guys, these are something that you won't be taught per se. This is the maximum that a person can explain or put across. It always has to be a commonsensical aspect. You should get a sense out of it. Okay, this is a situation and I need to use this limited resource to solve this particular problem. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of education. So we have the main intention over here is, let me actually clear all of this, not needed. We have it's always true, limited resource. And we need a solution. That's the whole point of this exercise. If not, if there were infinitely big page, screen, and if you were able to make sense out of it, then all of this question does not arise. To be honest, we don't need to do this chapter itself. Got it? Now, how do you deal with leftovers? Okay, this is part of leftovers. So what is leftovers? Say you choose a scale of 2 in this case itself, right? We have a scale of 2. But what if you end up with a odd number? Then we use fractions actually, half. So I'll show you guys that as and when we're doing. So basically, whatever symbol we use half of it, 1/4 of it, so on and so forth. So commonly allowed and most effective visual representation for symbols is whole symbols, like the one which we are seeing over here, right? Half a symbol to represent half of the unit. Again, we'll make use of it, then it will make sense. Then quarter symbols, 3/4 quarter symbols. So this 4 variation is allowed. Post that, few things are not allowed. So it will make a lot of sense as and when we start with exercise. So don't think too much about it. But yeah, have a note, have a mental note about what we are dealing with, and put your thinking cap in that direction. Okay? Yeah. We'll do a few examples, then it'll make sense.